It's estimated that over 400 million terabytes of information is uploaded to the internet every single day. And that number is nearly incomprehensible. When you think about the number of YouTube videos being uploaded, podcasts being updated, documents being uploaded, and I think for a lot of us, we've been told a lie. We've been told knowledge is power. And what we think is the more knowledge I consume, the more powerful I become. But that isn't true. Knowledge is not power by default. In fact, knowledge can sometimes be demotivating, it can sometimes be paralyzing. There are studies showing that over 75% of people in America struggle with what's called information overload. Too much information. And I was talking with a friend recently who just started a position at a new job, and they were training him, giving him all the details about the history of his job position, about all the documents, all the responsibilities that went along with it. He said, I feel like I'm drinking out of a fire hose. So let me extend that metaphor a little bit and let's imagine that information is water. And I'm going to ask three questions. One, what is the content of this information? And if this is water, the question we'd be asking is, do I need this water? It's important for you to have what's called information hygiene, which is to differentiate between which information is important for you to have and to curate the sources of that information. The content that's available in the world, most of it is not relevant to you, and consuming irrelevant content can inevitably cause you to feel stressed. Why would you take that in? Why consume that content? It's not doing you any good. The second question is, what is the quality of this content? Is this good water? Because not all the water in the world is something you need to put into your glass and drink. And yeah, it's water. Yes, the world is full of information, but my God, do we circulate some really bad information. Maybe you see something which applies to you, or at least that you think that it applies to you, and you consume it. You take it at face value. Maybe you even share it with other people, but it's not true. It's important to take time to make sure that we have purified the content that we're taking in and being willing to consume. Because people are going to hand you a lot of glasses of water. If information is water, they are handing you something every time you open your phone, every time you search the web, and a lot of it is toxic. You don't need to drink it. Third question is about the content quantity. How much of this do you really need? Now, sometimes we get obsessed about a thing. Have you ever done that? Have you ever gone down the rabbit hole trying to find out more information about something that on the surface seemed interesting and then it just completely took over your brain and you couldn't stop thinking about it? I have done that and gone in spirals. In some cases, when it comes to the big existential parts of my life, for years of consuming content around particular ideas. And at some point, I recognized that even though I'm continuing to read books and listen to people speak about this, I don't think I'm getting any value out of this anymore because there's a limit to how much of it you actually need, even when it's good for you. That's where drinking out of a fire hose becomes painful. You need the information, but when it's thrown at you in such large quantities, it's nearly impossible to digest and to act on. Sometimes you just need to shut things down. You need to shut your browser down. You need to turn your phone off. You need to stop taking in information, even good information, because after a while, you're going to start drowning in that information, even the good information. You just need to disconnect and get away. So how is your information hygiene? Are you paying attention to the relevance of the information that you're taking in? Are you paying attention to the quality of what you're letting your brain consume? And are you taking in more than you need to be? And let me go back to that original thought, this idea that knowledge is power. I want to challenge that. I don't think that knowledge is power by default. I think that high quality, relevant knowledge can be potential, but the power is in your willingness to act on the knowledge. Think about the fact that for some people, YouTube is a time suck. They are literally addicted to watching videos, whereas for other people, YouTube is a lifesaver that teaches them quality skills to help them accomplish their goals. The real power is when you take in clean and healthy knowledge, you put it in and you use it to fuel positive action that can be constructive. Too many times, I think people operating under the idea that knowledge is power are actually using knowledge like a weapon. We're throwing information at each other on the internet to try to bludgeon each other into agreement. And that isn't how knowledge is supposed to work. So let's start thinking about knowledge as a precious resource we want to conserve and we want to consume, but only in the right contexts, in the right quantities, and only with the right quality. So what about you? Do you struggle with feeling like you were just constantly putting information in your head? I mean, I know about the planet falling apart. I know about the environmental problems, the political problems, and you get overwhelmed by the sense that it's all so much. Think about what it is you're trying to produce in the world. Think of the value that you're bringing. Look for knowledge that applies to that, and then act on it in a way that will contribute to the greater good. What are some steps you've taken recently to filter the knowledge you're consuming? I'd love to hear that in the comments, or even if you're not doing well at it and you're trying to figure it out, drop a note and let me know.